7 seconds, but it doesn't matter because I'm going now. Good evening, ladies. It's been a while, a hot minute. So if you are new and you probably don't even recognize my face, that is my fault, but I'm Jess, and I'm just thankful that you guys take time to jump on these Zooms. You know, we have them for you, for us to get together. But I also know that it takes away from something else. Whenever you give time to something, it's in sacrifice of something else. And so I just want to thank you for prioritizing a few minutes each week to get together with us. I do think it unifies us and it helps us just kind of get on that same page. And I was really excited because I haven't really done a Zoom in a while, and I usually feel like this is a sweet spot for me where I love to pour out, I love to encourage, I love to inspire. It's something that I just love to do. And honestly, I was in tears like an hour ago, and I was like, I don't have nothing, I don't know what I'm gonna say. And I felt like I was a hot mess express. And honestly, I have like pages like ripped out, I have like 400 pages of God knows what. And I honestly don't even know how this is going to come out because it took a turn for the worse. I went from how can I inspire them? What can I encourage them with? It's the end of the year. We have new people on board. We have Cabo, you know, we have so many things to look forward to. And then I just like literally was like, God, what can I share today? And the word that kept coming to my mind, swear to God, was funeral. It's time to have a funeral. And I was like, okay, well, this is not the route I wanted to go. This isn't what I wanted. I wanted to bring like a charge, you know, and get fired up. And I kept just hearing, Jess, it's time to have a funeral for your frustration. And I know that sometimes as a tribe, it's an environment that's unlike any other, where we motivate each other and we uplift each other, and it's so different than maybe we're used to. You know, it's not the cards we played in high school or college, and you know, we're not competing and things like that. But sometimes I think because we're in this hoorah, hurrah, like environment, that sometimes our inner frustrations get pushed aside, and it can become like a boiling point for us to blow up. And I think that if sometimes we don't admit them or come clean with them, or just recognize frustrations in our business, frustration in our finances or our families, wherever it might be, sometimes I think that can be unhealthy. And so as much as I want to be like, more power to you, sister, or, you know, I want to, you know, high five you, and I want to always cheer you on, I always want to like just be a ball of positivity, I also think that tonight it would be so important for us as a team to have a funeral for our frustration. And that's why I asked if you had a paper or a pen, that you would almost do an exercise with me tonight, because 2020 in a nutshell was one of the craziest years of my life. And when I look back, I want to jump for joy, and I also want to cry. It was almost like, I don't want to be patted on the back and recognized for, you know, the blessings that came my way this year when you guys didn't see the battle behind it. You know what I mean? I don't ever want to be the leader that says, you know, it's good, and yeah, and win, and have you have expectations that this comes without a fight, or it does come without a battle. I want you guys to know that when you reach that next level that you're aiming for, it doesn't get easier. It doesn't become simpler. It doesn't become more luxurious like sometimes it might appear. Sometimes the battle gets heavier and weightier. And if we're not prepared for that, if we don't acknowledge those things and put them behind, we can't grow to that next season. There's like 89 days left of this year, and I'm ready for the next season. 2020 was a stupid year for a lot of people. It was just craziness all around. It kind of like flipped our worlds upside down, right? Doesn't mean it was all bad. Like I said, it was one of my best years. But at the same time, I think that if we don't acknowledge that there were frustrating points to this year, we can't move on to this next season the way that we need to as a tribe and get ready for that next thing. When I think of a funeral, I think of a time where you mourn the loss of what is in front of you. You take that time to say, you know what, this didn't go as planned. I wouldn't have chosen this path. I wouldn't have said goodbye to this, but here I am. And I'm faced with it, and I have to do that, because then that gives me closure to then move on the next day. Tomorrow, I want to wake up as new women. I don't want to even recognize the girl I am in this Zoom. I hope that when you wake up tomorrow, you look in the mirror and you look different. You feel different. You bring in a new kind of attitude, a new sense of urgency, a new fight within you, because tonight you buried what was holding you back. And so for me, I feel like I'm ready for that next level, but I had to come to grips that I needed time to mourn some situations that happened this year. And it did feel like there was such a roller coaster for me. You know, we had the Ultimate Thriver launch in March, right after we came back from Riviera Maya, and right before COVID came in and, you know, took our world by storm. And I put my head down for Ultimate Thriver. I knew that I had to focus in. And so I stepped away from all the normal things. But in the process of that, I lost my upline and my downline. I was rejected and I was hurt. I was stomped on emotionally, and I didn't have time to sit there and cry about it. I didn't have time to sit there and worry. I didn't have time to get frustrated that I no longer had someone to guide me, or, you know, someone to guide. That all of a sudden, it felt like my whole team was in an uproar, but I was also in the middle of a contest that was one of the best breakthroughs of my life. It was this simultaneous blessing and battle. And sometimes that's what you're faced with. Some of you guys might be going through a season where it's a success, it's a win, it's a high, it's a good season. Your marriage is good, your finances are good, you're kind of feeling really good in your skin right now. You started to thrive, you have that adrenaline, you have that motivation. What happens when that leaves though? What happens when you wake up and you have zero motivation helping you? What if you start finding yourself getting jealous of the person you used to cheer on because you're no longer, you know, growing with them? You now feel left behind, and they're, you know, ranks ahead of you. What happens when it doesn't feel fun anymore? What happens when you're kind of sick of the same old, same old? That's what I want to talk about today. And even if you're new to this, I don't want to make it sound like a downer. I don't want it to sound depressing by any means, but I do think it's a valuable lesson I wish I would have learned 5 years ago. I wish I would have learned that behind the highlight reel on social media, there were battles being fought. And if you can go in with preparation for that, I feel like you can come out a stronger person. A verse that came to me this year was, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Because every time I felt like I had a blessing coming to me, I felt like I was fighting a battle bigger than me, that something was also getting taken away. Sometimes too, I have to admit that it's not always what is given to you, but what God can remove from you that is your win. And right now, I want you to have a funeral for the weight that's holding you back, whether that's fear of rejection, whether that's, you know, shame from your past, whether it's a confidence issue, whether it's exhaustion, whether it's the need to be liked, whether it's, you know, whatever it might be that's holding you back. I need you to bury that tonight. I need you to put that in the ground and get closure in that, so that tomorrow when you wake up, you can say, you know what? I said goodbye to this. It no longer can have control over my life. I no longer can grieve this loss, because I now have put it to rest. And you can move into that next season. And I want to move into this next season together, because in the process of building, you're going to have that battle. But if you can fight through the battles, if you can identify the battle as the breakthrough, then you're prepared. It doesn't shock you as much. So this year, hard. There was testing with my kid. I had to relearn parenting for my 2-year-old. I had to learn how to get through days with crying all day because my kid was out of control. I had to learn how to get over the fact that I knew they were watching my post and seeing what I was writing, but wouldn't talk to me. You know what I mean? I had to get through all of these different things that were happening in my personal life and keep going on. And so I feel like what came to me too, an analogy, of course, because that's like how I roll, is the same gasoline that I put in my car to make my car go forward is the same gasoline that can burn my car to the ground when misused and misplaced. And the same thing is true with you. Your frustrations, your holdbacks, the things that you have going on, they're either going to be the fuel that drives you to the next level or the thing that burns you to the ground. And I have to be honest with you, as a leader, I'm in a situation right now where I feel like I am looking at both options and not realizing which one it's about to be. I know the answer. I know what it takes to self-motivate. I know that I have to get up and keep going. I know that this, know that, but if you're not careful, the gasoline that is intended to go in the car can be sprayed all over the car and your car blow up. You have to be careful who you align with, where you align with, what you give weight to, what you allow your thoughts to go to, or the same thing that would drive you will kill you. And so for me, I had to have a turning point lately that said, I'm about to get down, I'm about to burn to the ground if I'm not careful. If I'm not careful, I'm going to take what was supposed to be God's push for me and make it my ultimate fail, if that makes sense. I'm just trying to be honest of where I'm at. There's times that I wake up and I'm like, I'm so unmotivated, and I have to remind myself just how important it is to just take my 3 steps. Even when I don't have the credits to buy it, to buy my 3 steps and to invest in my business, to wake up and fill my mind. I have to remind myself of these basic things, because if not, then what can build you can also destroy you. And if you're not careful, you will end up in flames with the very thing that was supposed to propel you forward. And so tonight, I wanted you to get a piece of paper. I wanted you to write down frustrations. Maybe you haven't been obvious with them. Maybe other people on this team don't see that you're insecure. Maybe they don't see that jealousy creeps in. Maybe they don't see when you get defeated every day. Maybe they don't see that you're unmotivated and that you have absolutely nothing to post because you're so uninspired that you're basically looking up Pinterest quotes to try to find some kind of fuel. Whatever it might be, I want you to get real and raw with yourself, so that whatever might be holding you back right now can be put to rest tonight. I feel like when I moved into this new house, I remember joking with Brandon because the kids were going crazy, and I don't remember how I said it, but it was basically well, if you take the same family and just change addresses, it doesn't matter. The same chaos follows you. And I realized then that in this moment where I'm at personally, and I'm not saying you aren't, like I said, some of you guys might be in a huge winning season, and that's great. But take this as notes for when the battle comes. For me, I realized that if I don't put to sleep some of the things that I felt this year, like rejection and hurt and sadness and pain, whatever it might be, if I don't put that to rest, I'm going to take that into 2021 with me. It doesn't just vanish. You don't just wake up a different person accidentally. You don't just, get a new day and everything fades away. The same bullcrap holding you back today is going to follow you to the next day and the next day and the next year and the next year. And we have 89 days left to almost perfect, not that we're ever perfect, but to perfect our game plan before we even enter into 2021. Before, especially with Cabo trackers out, to me, I'm such a goal-oriented person that when I have something to fight for or reach for, that keeps me aligned. So it's use that as your fuel right now. But don't take the same negativity that you had today into the next day. We have to bury it tonight. And so like, I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if you want to use the chat to say, you know, you're not alone, you're not alone, you're not alone, or you are alone, you are alone, you are alone, whatever it might be. But like, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like if I want to go hard the next 89 days, I have to release some things that 2020 brought into my life that I wasn't expecting. That it wasn't just blessings, but there were times that felt like defeat. And I have to give up those feelings for me to say, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to step forward. I'm ready to step into confidence. I want to bury the self-doubt. I want to bury rejection. You know, sometimes when something happens, it can backfire for you. It can build you, but it can also break you. And so sometimes we have that choice to say, is this going to be a building block in my story, or is this going to break me down? Where it really shows that I really wasn't as confident as I thought, because that rejection hurt a lot harder than I thought. When someone said, I don't choose you, that hurts at a level that you don't realize until it's done. But see, God's like, I can't take you to the next level until you build. And if that isn't an actual strength for you, you're not ready. Well, 2020 taught me that I wasn't ready, because it still hurt. It hurt at a level that I wasn't willing to admit. So now I have to say, okay, I saw how this broke me down. I saw how this messed with my head. I saw how this tampered my confidence. I saw how this threw me off my game. I saw how this diluted my purpose. I saw, and now I have to fix it. So tonight, I can no longer let that rejection hold me back, because I have a job to do. I have something tied to my name. My family needs this business to work. I don't have time to play games. This isn't a cute little fun hobby for me. This is go time, and I can't be my best or give my best when something else is holding me back. And so if you have something holding you back tonight, ladies, I could give you 100 tips on how to grow your Instagram. I can tell you how to filter your picture better. We can work on bios if we wanted to. But if you take that into tomorrow, you're going to be no good tomorrow as you were the last time it ate you alive. And so we have to grow through the stuff that's holding us back. And sometimes that means facing the hard. I know when I sit at a funeral, it's one of the hardest things I ever do. I hate funerals. I hate them, because you're facing the reality that something is gone. Sometimes, especially if you're new, this point too, it might not be something so negative. Sometimes you have to say goodbye to yourself. Sometimes you have to say goodbye to how you knew life. It might have always been that way for you, and so it's hard for you to grasp something else. And sometimes you have to say goodbye to your very own patterns, your very own habits, your very own identity. And so I hope that tonight, I want to keep this short just because I want you to take a piece of paper tonight, and I want you to write, I'm having a funeral for my frustration. I'm having a funeral for my fear that holds me back. I'm having a funeral for my excuses. I'm having a funeral for this rejection that hurt my heart. I'm having a funeral for this, fill in the blank, fill in the blank. The self-sabotage that comes with life when we allow things to like just fluster is just ridiculous. Because when you get rejected, or when you get hurt, or when you get turned down, or when someone tells you no for the business, or whatever it might be, we then take that, and then we no longer take chances in the future with the risk of someone saying no again, because that fear of rejection lies within us. So it literally will compound for the rest of your life if you don't face it. So tonight, I want you to take 15 minutes after this to get so freaking real with yourself, to say, you know what, this was a good year. I don't mind cheering on my friends, but I get frustrated, or it's really hard when everyone else is winning and I feel like I'm not getting anywhere, or when I feel like I give my all on social media and I haven't gotten those customers, or no one's banging down my door for Thrive. Like, what are those things that eat you up, that keep coming back to mind, that allow space into your head, that is taking away from you going forward? What is burning you out that should be propelling you forward? Where is it? identify it, write it down. Let's put it to rest. Let's go put a match to it. If you have a fireplace, throw it in the fireplace and throw a match on it. Rip it up. Do something to demolish the thoughts that hold you back, because there's something so good ahead, but you are not going to reach it if you bring this into tomorrow. So whether that is laziness or unhealthy habits, or like I said, something bigger that's just deep rooted, whatever it is, I want you to lay it out tonight. I want you to face it, because I can guarantee you, it was almost like a God thing for me. The Ultimate Thriver was such a push for me that I didn't have time in that moment to really sit in feelings. So then it like went into like looking for houses, and then it went into buying houses, and then it went into packing, and it went into, you know, all the inspections and everything. And then it went into like redoing this house and then cleaning up the old house. And it was almost like so busy that I feel like it was just this week that everything hit me. Things that happened in March and April and June and months ago are all hitting me now, because it's almost like I stopped for a second. And sometimes life can do that. And I found it as a blessing in disguise, because if I would have sat in it, it would have maybe messed up my chances with Ultimate Thriver. It might have messed with my game of getting this house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it might have messed me up in that moment, but I still have to address them, because they came hitting, and like a flood of emotions started to take over me, where I'm like, I'm scared to move on. I'm scared to put myself out there. I'm scared to get hurt. I'm scared right now, or whatever it might be, fill in the blanks. And I realized that just because the months passed didn't mean that I actually healed from it, or that I addressed it, or that I, you know, took the time to put it to sleep. And so I know for me, I personally needed this to just like self-examine. I just want you to self-examine. I don't care how bomb-ass businesswoman you are at the end of the day. You can hustle your way to greatness if you want. But to me, if you build like so authentic that when you are like aligning your personal life and your growth game and all of that along with your hustle, then when you get to the top, I think that it's something that you're going to very much appreciate, rather than get there and feel empty still. So to me, it's like work through the process as you have it. And so for me, it was like, this has to be addressed now. I can't get to 200K. I can't get to a thriving team. I can't get to helping more people in the community. I can't get to financial freedom. I can't get to paying all our bills, you know, on one check. I can't get to all these dreams that I might have if I'm being held back by stupidity and things that are eating me alive because I didn't release them. So that's honestly all I wanted to talk about, is having a funeral tonight so that we can go into the next stage. I always say, like, it kind of goes off that verse, the Lord takes, the Lord gives, the Lord takes kind of thing. Is I always feel like sometimes every time something dies, another thing blooms or is birthed. And so for me, I need some things in my life to die right now. And I know that sounds really awful, and it sounds like really depressing of a Zoom, and I didn't want it to be, but I don't know if you're sitting there and there are things that really need to die for you to birth out that next level of greatness that you have inside of you, to birth out that next level of purpose, to birth out that new season of financial breakthrough. For you to get to that next level, you have to say goodbye to some things. And so whether this is your first week or 2 years in, I want you to look in the mirror tonight and say, okay, I need to get good at calling myself out. And right now I've allowed this excuse or this pattern or this habit or this holdback or, you know, whatever it might be to sit too long in this place. And I need to release it so that I can grab on what's to come. And I think that this team is so blessed. I think that this team has, like, honestly, I look around and I'm like, oh my God, the gifts inside these women, like your stories, like some of your stories, they hit me in such a way that I'm like, oh damn, that's powerful stuff. Like one day when you speak, one day when you tell your story, like I can't wait for the other side, the flip side to your story. I can't wait to see how God uses what looked like a mess and it became your message. And I can't wait to see how that turns into literally your like shining moment. Because I know you have it in you. I know you have it. I mean, some of you guys, I'm just like, holy smokes, when it clicks, it's going to be downhill from there. And so I just want you guys to get so good at identifying what needs to go, because you don't have time to waste. Your story is powerful. Your purpose is powerful. Your family needs you to do this. You have a daughter who's watching you, or a son who's watching you, who needs you to experience this so that they have their life to, you know, propel forward. And so like, this doesn't just hang right here. It is so big that we have to take it seriously. And so I just want you guys to take a few minutes, ask God to say, you know, what, show me, help me identify. I always remember, I did a podcast on this where I had to learn how to give myself grace. And I had to learn how to like know when I needed to not beat myself up for being a bad mom or not being great at business or whatever. I had to learn how to give grace. I also had to learn how to kick myself in the ass when I wasn't being my best. I had to call myself out. And so tonight I want to ask you guys to call yourself out, not just in business, but in life. Where are you holding back? What is holding you back? How can you change it? How can we have a funeral for it tonight? How can we kiss it goodbye, say, see you later. You had enough time here. Insecurity, you had enough time here. You know, bad habits, you had enough time here. Laziness, enough time here. It's time for me to get to work because I have a lot on the line and I'm willing and ready to push forward. And so I want you guys to get rid of it tonight. Let's take on the next 89 days with fire in our soul, in our life, knowing that we let go of what was holding us back and see what is in store. I think 2021 is going to be a year for the books. I'm calling it now. I'm claiming it now. I know that this year was good too. It's not that it was bad and everyone, like, I'm not trying to like diminish all the wins that we had this year, but I think 2021 is going to rock it out of the park. And I just feel like we have to be ready. We have to take this battle, turn it into our breakthrough so that we can enjoy our blessings. So I hope you guys have a good night. I hope that that made sense because I know it was a little all over the place, but I also hope that you'll take this, grow from it so that we can get to that next level together, not individually, but together as a team, arm in arm, so that we can take on the new level as a team that we're about to embrace. And so I love you ladies. I hope you guys are doing well. And I can't wait to just fire ahead of what this next few months is going to bring. And I hope you guys have a good night.